Sarah Kane is the best British playwright. Let's get this out of the way. I did a live stream with Jalen from The Bar and the Bookcase, and he asked me who Sarah Kane could be compared to, and I really had a difficult time articulating who is Sarah Kane akin to. I recommended Sarah Kane to Mariam.
Okay. Why do I don't know who Sarah Kane is, I don't think.
Alright, I'm dropping it now. I will do a review. She will be a 10 out of 10.
Okay, wow.
Sarah Kane is the epitome of putting your hand on the self-destruct button.
Yeah.
And like live streaming it. And you're like, I'm going to push it at some moment. And every time you think it's going to be pressed, it doesn't.
Interesting. Why have I not heard of Sarah Kane? Are these like recently published plays,
no,
or is she like a...
Sarah Kane was in the young British movement, like the YBAs around that time, like Tracy Emin. You read Sarah Kane, like you get it.
Okay.
You're like, wow. I know exactly how you were feeling. Like they're not easy. They're really like disturbing. Like there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That was I've seen Blasted done live. My mate, I didn't tell him what it was about. I took him there. I was like, we're going to watch this. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. Go into it. And afterwards he went, I am traumatized. Like, what on earth did I just watch? He's like,
I need to read these like now. It sounds like me. I think Miriam's right. Has my name in them. Yeah. I mean, that sounds incredible. And I would like to read plays. So if you had to compare it to something, like what would you compare it to? The only example I could give was this one. Oh, gosh, Sarah Kane. How to describe Sarah? Do you know Tracy Emin's Bed? I don't. As in the artwork, which is the unmade bed. This is such a really weird. It's like that. It's like staring in the room as the room was being like destroyed over years. Oh, okay. There's no one quite like Sarah Kane. I am excited to read her now. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna order those right after this. So thank you, Miriam, for bringing that up in the chat. Jeez. Yeah. Oh, what an endorsement for Sarah Kane. Seriously. I'm so sold. Yeah, Sarah Kane is just. Well, I read it when I was 17. I'm still thinking about like those plays. And that's a good sign. Emin and Kane's work both deal with self-sabotage and self-destruction, and at times they are lauded, they are stigmatized, they are dogmatized with their controversiality, their transgressions. That's what people think of when you consider Kane and Emin. Both are dealing with something adjacent to all that violence. Love, comfort, consoling, understanding. Kane's overt only spans 5 years. Her first play, Blasted, the one that she's most famous or infamously known for, was first staged in 1995. The last play, 4.48 Psychosis, was first staged in 2000. And Kane wasn't around to watch 4.48 Psychosis because she killed herself. Harold Pinter, upon finding out about Kane's death, said something to the degree of that he was unsurprisingly unsurprised. Everyone knew that Kane was holding on to the self-destruct button. What these plays do allow you to watch Kane hover over that self-destruct button. What I have always viewed as the suicide note is 4.48 Psychosis, which is a play written unlike anything else. There is no rhyme or reason. Kane's work deals with death, but I think there's a morbid fascination of the precipice up to that, especially acts of violence. This is a collection of plays. It's also got one screenplay that she wrote for Channel 4, Skins, but I really want to focus on her plays during this review. Violence is everywhere. Within Blasted, we have Ian who rapes Kate every time she has an epileptic fit. Ian is then raped by a soldier, his eyes are plucked out, and he eats a baby. In the Greek retelling Phaedra's Love, we deal with verbal abuse, emotional abuse. We also have rape, but this time of an incestual kind. In the play Cleansed, we meet Tinker, who is the epitome of sadist, And there's an ambiguity. Is he a protagonist? Is he an antagonist? There's a lot of ambiguity. Tinker is a pseudo-doctor psychiatrist who is pushing people to the lengths. He wants to see at what point will love break, at what point someone will give up on love through extremely violent acts. In the emotionally charged and intimate play Crave, we have violence to one's self, what it means to not be able to let go. Kay describes that her inability to sleep is an act of torture. The guilt that she feels is a cloud of blood, and if she was to commit suicide, her fear is that she will come back again, would have to go through the process leading up again and again and again. All of this culminates to the play that is pretty much a bullet to your face, the posthumously performed play 4.48 Psychosis. Before we talk about Sarah Kane's work in a bit more detail, I want to discuss my personal journey with Sarah Kane. I've not studied Sarah Kane. Some of you might know that I did a drama degree. Her works not within my studies have been part of any syllabus, recommended reading, or further reading. Interestingly, Kane is part of a movement called the In-Yer-Face Theatre, where it was theatre that was in your face. It's very much like shock. It's very much awe. There's a cathartic element. Think of it like a modern Artaud theatre of cruelty. If you're not aware of In-Your-Face Theatre, that originated in the 1990s in London, Kane's contemporaries are Mark Ravenhill, his most famous play being, which is about Edward Bond's play Saved, could be seen as a piece of In-Your-Face Theatre, a story about a mother who is struggling with her child, and the child is constantly screaming throughout this play. What happens is that the baby is taken out to the street and a gang burn the baby on stage and put the baby out by pissing on it. One precursor to the In-Your-Face Theatre that definitely set the tone of theatre is the controversial play The Romans in Britain, which had a huge scandal against it. Brenton was actually prosecuted for showing homosexual rape within the first scenes of The Romans in Britain. Though it was unsuccessful, it definitely paved the way of theatre wanting to push the boundaries. When we get to the 1990s, no one was prepared for what Kane was going to show. Kane is really pushing the limits of what naturalistic theatre can do. How do you show someone being raped multiple times on a stage? How do you show someone's genitals being cut off and barbecued in front of them? How do you show rats pulling off limbs and scurrying off with them? How do you show a sunflower breaking through the theatre? Kane doesn't tell you how these are meant to be done, especially 4.48 Psychosis. There's a complete creative freedom for anyone wishing to take on that play as an endeavour. The theatre thrives on interpretation and reimaginings. Every Kane play that you are going to see, every time you read a play of Sarah Kane's, you're going to come away with something utterly different, visceral, cathartic, yes, but different. We've gone off piece a little bit, but if you're familiar with this channel, are we surprised? How did I come to read Blasted? How did I come to read Sarah Kane? When I was 17, my drama teacher said, hey, I think you'll get on with this, and passed me Sarah Kane to read. And I did, and I remember at the time being flummoxed, being a bit shocked that you could write in this style, that you could be so graphic, you could be so vulgar, you could be so violent. I remember going around school reading out some pieces and people being like, what is this? And I think we all have that one book where you go to a place in literature that you've not experienced before. There's always a aura that literature is kind, it's nice, it's flowery, it's about relationships, it's about romance, that there's something airy to literature. I'm not saying in schools kids of a young age should be exposed to Sarah Kane, but I think we all have that one book, something that was striking, something that made you realise This is different to what I have ever read. Sarah Kane's plays was this book for me. It's been 10 years since I first read Sarah Kane, and I still keep in contact with that teacher. She's been, like, great. She's just been, like, an absolute, like, stronghold in my life. I know when I was doing my undergraduate, I'd ask her questions. I would say, I want to talk about this, like, where would I go? She would always tell me. I remember for my real life review, I had to ask, I said, who was the person who said life under a microscope? And there she was, like, straight with the answer. I owe a lot. I owe a lot. I owe a lot to Miss Roblin. I owe a lot to Miss Roblin. Students who were present and those who were past, including myself, went to her retirement party. She's one of the only teachers in school that I think got me. I think understood what I wanted, was happy to push me, was happy to let me fail, was happy to teach me why I was wrong and why I was failing. And for this I asked, hey, why did you let me read this? Out of everything she could have picked off the shelves, why Sarah Kane? And she responded with this. When you know someone, when you know what they like, when you understand them, you can take the risk. And I think the risk has paid off. These plays are undoubtedly transgressive. And if you're watching this, you're going to fit, I suppose, into three main categories. The first category is that you've read or you've watched some Sarah Kane, and you're looking to see on the internet what people are saying about her. The second category are the people who have heard what I've already said and already gone, nope, this isn't for me. But you might be the third category, where you go, well, how bad are these plays? Like, you're saying these things, like, are they as bad as you're making out? Yes. Writers are always wavering on a very tight game of limbo, that when they move into transgression, they either alienate people, they either move into shock and awe that they've just done it because they can, or they're using it to discuss something. They're using something to highlight something else. Sarah Kane, unequivocally, is always talking about something else. I don't want to just list off explicit examples, because I would prefer that you go out and attempt to read a Kane play and make up your own mind of what these acts of violence are. But let's talk about the most infamous one. The play that will probably stay with Sarah Kane for years to come, that she is the playwright of Blasted. Let's talk about Ian. Firstly, in Blasted, please know that there are only three characters: Ian, Kate, and Soldier, in a scene that we're so accustomed to. It's a grand hotel. We already have these ideas of what this is going to be. He walks in with his girlfriend, Kate, and we expect like a kitchen sink drama, something from Don't Look Back in Anger, something that we've seen myriad times. And Ian's first words is that he's shat in better places. Already he's geared up. Ian is sexually vulgar, violent, and explicit from the offset. Again, he rapes Kate every time she has an epileptic fit. And she says to him, I don't know, like, have we done something? Because I don't think I'm quite ready yet. And Ian reassures her time again, no. Kate is playing into stereotype here. Ian is a macho man who knows what he wants and will get what he wants. It doesn't matter if he has to cross boundaries. It doesn't matter if he has to do it on his own accord to get those things. Conversation between Ian and Kate is always stunted. It's sparse. It's very focused. Until Ian starts talking about a serial killer who's currently on the loose. Scarce. And at this point, we have a slight ramble from him, but he still brings it back to himself. He still brings it back that he has a gun. Like, he's not afraid to kill anyone. Kate is unsure if this gun exists or not, as is the audience, but the mere fact that he has a gun, the fact that it's loaded, the fact that he's happy to kill if someone walks into this hotel room. These violence and transgressions, however, are all contained. It's a very disturbing experience within the theatre. I've seen a production of Blasted. It's not nice at all, but Kate's very precise in where she wants to place these plays. There is a reason why she has put them in this contained, elaborate sphere, because you never think that anything's going to happen within the corridors of the hotel. And this is when Soldier comes in, and Soldier, who has learnt to kill, who is trained to kill, who tells Ian at length that the army are raping Kate at this moment in time. The fact that he's done war crimes, he's had sex with a child, the youngest he states being 12, and he felt nothing of it. Macho Ian, the one who's so brave and he's sticking it to the man, and people want to know where he is and they've probably tapped the hotel phone. We see him cower. We see him to be the person that he actually is. And at this point, a bomb goes off. The room is blasted. We can look at a bombshell and see the exact place where it hit, and we could talk about what happened there and then. But we don't talk about the blast radius. We don't always think about the shrapnel. We don't think about the people who have witnessed this. We don't hear about the gossip that happens around though. Ian's violence towards Kate isn't between Ian and Kate. It's with everyone else around it. When Ian hears that someone else is doing the exact same thing, it's mirrored the violence to Kate. He understands how that feels. He understands what he has done, why he's wrong. He's there wondering, how does he escape it? How does he make it right? And Sarah Kane does not make it right. Kane is cruel to her characters, and we see Ian being put in circumstance after circumstance after circumstance that at times make you feel as though he deserves it, and then it pushes past a point and you feel sorry for him. Kane is almost sat in the audience, nudging you throughout the last scenes, going, you tell me when enough is enough. Like, when has Ian had his comeuppance? When does Ian stop deserving everything that I'm going to throw at him? And you're there going, I think it's this point. Blasted is quite easy to talk about, and the reason why its reputation for its infamousy, the reason why it's always going to be a ball and chain to Sarah Kane's leg, is the fact that it's very over the top. It's very gratuitous in its violence. It doesn't really know when to stop until it stops. If you compare the later works to Blasted, you can see how Kane is constantly taking off the edges. She's constantly polishing until you get the singularity point of 448 Psychosis, where everything seems to just fall in on itself, and it fell in for Sarah Kane and she took her life. No one writes like Sarah Kane. No one can get visceral. No one can like tap into your head. I've never read a play where I feel the goosebumps around my neck, that I get cold shakes, where I sigh, I cry, I laugh. I don't know when enough is enough. At times I'm crying out for more. Sometimes I'm just there going, how could you improve this? It's chaotic bliss. There's a moment in Kane's work where you feel the weight on your shoulders because it's so raw, it's so honest, and Kane's trying to get at love, she's trying to get at compassion, she's trying to get you to understand how she feels. It's a very intimate moment reading Kane. And she tries to get at what point does love get in the way of death? Like, at what point should I not succumb? And you read 448 Psychosis knowing that she was dead at that point. Like, you could feel the lump in your throat, like, reading that play. That is so not original. It's just her. It's just Sarah Kane saying, this is how I feel, I don't want to live, and I know that I should, and I know that there are people who want me to, and you can hold my hand, and you can walk with me through this. But I'm still going to kill myself at the end of the day. Sarah Kane's kind of just walked out. Sarah Kane is the best British playwright. There's no one like her. There's no one as raw, as emotional, as honest. She's a force to be reckoned with. She's like a hurricane. She tears up everything in her path, and you're waiting for the eye of the storm. And the eye of the storm is where Sarah Kane found her peace. And sadly, it's not here with us. I've only recently been recommended Sarah Kane, and people have messaged me being like, why have I never read Kane before? And I said this to my drama teacher, and she said, I don't think Sarah Kane would be proud. Instead, she summarised how Kane would feel with this T.S. Eliot quote. And still today, my drama teacher, like, knows how to articulate herself with me. The complete plays of Sarah Kane. It's a 10 out of 10. It's been holding on strong for 10 years.